In 2017, at an auction in Hong Kong, a single item sold for over $379,000. It wasn't a painting, a rare watch, or classic car. It was a handbag. At that level, the price directly competes with others like a Rolex, Daytona Paul Newman, or even a Ferrari. Yet, the transaction wasn't treated as unusual. It continued normally, suggesting that, for their audience, the value was already justified. But the more interesting part happens after the initial sale. In the secondary market, certain Birkin models are resold above their original retail price. As a result, these bags are no longer positioned strictly as luxury goods. They operate within a structure closer to the art market, with pieces being sold through auctions like Christie's and Sotheby's. Data from the luxury resale market also indicates that some models have outperformed traditional sources of value, including gold, and in certain periods even equities. This raises a practical question. If someone has the financial means, can they simply buy one? Actually, not necessarily. Access is intentionally restricted. It depends on purchase history, a long-term engagement with the brand, and a level of trust that is built over time. In many cases, clients wait years before being offered the opportunity. The system isn't accidental. Each bag is produced by a single artisan from start to finish. There's no production line and no effort to increase speed, limiting supply by design. And this is where the key question begins to form. Within the same market under similar conditions, many luxury brands exist, yet very few produce the same outcome. If Hermes has reached this level, the most intuitive explanation would be product quality. However, a closer look at the market suggests a more complex reality. Brands like Chanel and Louis Vuitton offer luxury handbags targeting a similar customer segment with a high level of craftsmanship. The Chanel Classic Flap, for example, exceeds $10,000, while Louis Vuitton, despite large-scale production, has maintained strong perceived value among consumers. From a historical perspective, these brands also have comparable foundations. Louis Vuitton was established in 1854 and Chanel in 1910. Both have long-standing reputation, a global recognition, and significant cultural influence. Yet despite this similarity, the market outcome is clearly different. Reports such as Bag Hunter indicate that Birkin bags have appreciated by over 500% since the 1980s, without any fundamental change in the material or production method. This creates a disconnect. The emperor's craftsmanship, heritage, brand positioning appear constant across multiple brands, but the results follow a completely different trajectory. At this point, comparison is no longer sufficient. A more precise question emerges. What specific factor allowed Hermes to reach this level, while others under similar conditions did not? In Paris during the first half of the 19th century, certain crafts required a high level of precision and physical durability. They were directly connected to horses, serving a world built around movement and swing. Within that context, Thierry Hermes built a different kind of reputation, not based on appearance, but on reliability and precision. Because failure was not an option. As time passed, that role changed rapidly. Horses gradually disappeared from daily life, and many related crafts declined with them. At that point, a critical decision was made. The activity did not stop, it shifted direction. Charles-Émile Hermes relocated the business to 24 Faubourg Saint-Honoré, a location that would later become central to the brand's identity. From there, the trajectory changed. Later, Émile Hermes introduced the zipper into France and applied it to leather goods. On the surface, this appeared to be a technical decision, but it reflects a broader approach. The company was not fixed in the past, but it also did not follow change blindly. It preserved its core capabilities and built on top of them. When Hermes entered the handbag market, the same principle remained: precision, controlled path, and zero tolerances for error. At the time when the market was moving toward mass production, Hermes took a different path: limited output, closed workshop, and the training process that can take years before an artisan work independently. This is where a less visible difference becomes important. Many brands begin with fashion and later attempt to reach higher level of quality. Hermes followed the opposite path. It started with quality and maintained it. Even as the market evolved, this origin is not just a historical context, it functions as a system, one that continues to influence every decision that follows. Each Birkin bag is made by a single artisan. One person handles the entire process, from raw leather to the final stage, without interruption. This means full responsibility is assigned to one individual. The stitching follows a technique known as a silo stitching. It is done entirely by hand, using 2 nails. This method is slower than machine stitching, but structurally is stronger. The process is time-intensive. A single bag typically requires between 18 and 40 hours of manual work. Before reaching that stage, artisans undergo several years of training inside Hermes workshops. Not all trainees are qualified to work independently, which limits the number of active artisans. Each bag is also linked to the person who made it. A small step identifies the artisan responsible, giving every piece a traceable origin. Within this system, errors are not tolerated. Even a minor imperfection is enough for the entire product to be rejected and kept out of the market. This standard does not change, even under high demand. There is no acceleration of production, no adjustment to increase volume. Output remains intentionally limited. Produced in controlled workshop, using method closer to the traditional craftsmanship than industrial manufacturing. Even after the sale, the product is not considered finished. Hermes provides repair and maintenance services, allowing the bag to remain in use for years. They show that the process is not only about craftsmanship, it operates as a structured system designed to maintain constant quality while keeping supply limited, without explicitly presenting it as such. At this point, the logic becomes clear. Precision is not optional, and volume is not the objective. But before any of these begins, there is another level where everything is determined: the material itself. A Birkin bag does not begin in the workshop. It begins much earlier, with the material itself, and not with a single material, but with a structured system of selection. Several types of leather are used. Calfskin is most common, offering flexibility and ease of handling, which make it suitable for shipping. We move into materials such as crocodile and alligator. The characteristics change. The patterns are not designed, they're natural. Each piece is unique and cannot be replicated. Other materials introduce additional variation. Ostrich leather, for example, contains visible quill marks that are part of the material itself. It also provides a different balance between softness and durability. Python leather is used in some cases as a whale leather, with this apparent but less common. Before any of these materials reach production, they go through strict selection. The leather must be close to flawless, no scratches, no visible defects. Even minor imperfection can lead to rejection. This is not theoretical. Many materials are excluded at this stage. Sourcing is tightly controlled. Leathers come from specific, regulated farms, exotic skins, and practical are subject to international regulation, such as CITES, which require full traceability. Each piece of material has documented origin and a defined path before entering production. Even after sourcing, the material is not used immediately. It undergoes multiple treatment processes to stabilize it and prepare it for use. Then comes another level of selection, cutting. Not every section of single piece of leather is suitable. Artisans select specific zones based on symmetry, consistency, and minimal imperfection, especially in materials like crocodile, where natural variation is expected. This step further reduces usable volume. The entire process takes place in controlled environment, regulated for humidity, temperature, and cleanliness, to maintain material stability. At this stage, the structure becomes clear. Before any artisan begins working, the material has already passed through a complete system: selection, regulation, processing, and filtering. Before it becomes a bag, the material itself must qualify, and not all of these it does. From this point, the system is fully defined, and from here, it becomes intentional. Despite its position, Hermes has faced moments that could have changed its trajectory. In 2010, a major event disrupted the market. LVMH, the group behind brands such as Louis Vuitton and Dior, unexpectedly revealed that it had a significant stake in Hermes. This was not done through a direct public offer. Instead, the shares were accumulated gradually through the market, eventually reaching around 17% before the full extent became visible. The move was widely interrupted as an indirect impact to gain influence over a family-controlled company known for its independence. The response was immediate. The Hermes family treated the situation as a direct threat, anything both legal and finance measure to prevent any loss of control, and a very strategic decision. A large portion of family shares was consolidated into a single holding structure. This effectively blocked the future takeover attempts. The conflict continued for several years, attracting significant media attention. By 2014, an agreement was reached. LVMH reduced its stake, and Hermes maintained its independence. This episode revealed a key point. Even the strongest companies can become targets, but Hermes chose to defend its structure, remaining not just a brand, but an independent company with its own rules. At the same time, under pressure rebuilding, the use of exotic skins brought criticism and legal challenges from animal rights organizations, placing the company and their ongoing public under regulatory scrutiny. And parallel, the growing visibility of the Birkin created another issue: counterfeiting. High-quality replicas began circulating in the market, making it essentially difficult to distinguish between authentic and fake products. This forced Hermes to strengthen control measures and reinforce its brand identity. Additionally, the impairs of freezing global demand, the broader market moved toward expansion and increased production. Hermes took the opposite approach. It refused to scale production aligned with demand, choosing instead to maintain its extending system, even at the cost of potential growth opportunities. It's not just the material, not just the craftsmanship, and not even the history. All of these factors matter, but they are not what pushed the price to this level. What Hermes built is not simply a product, it is a system. From the sourcing of materials, to the method of production, to restricted access, and even to how the brand is positioned globally. Every element is structured to limit availability. That limitation creates demand, and demand drives value. This is where the real distinction becomes clear. The price does not reflect the cost of making the bag, it reflects how difficult it is to obtain. At that point, the Birkin is no longer just a product that can be purchased, it becomes a signal, a form of qualification, not for everyone, only for those who gain access. So the question isn't why it can reach $400,000. The real question is who is actually able to get one.